Good afternoon and welcome to Sydney Airport's Terminal 2. I've just got off the Airport Link train, which is a very convenient way to get from the centre of Sydney to either the two domestic terminals or the international terminal in only around 13 to 15 minutes. Although I must warn it is a rather rip-off at a steep price of $18 to $19 depending on the time of day you travel, which is a sharp increase over any of the regular suburban stations on the network. Putting aside this bit of a rip-off aside, I find myself unexpectedly flying Virgin Australia tonight in business class, something that I only had to make a booking for at the last minute last night, as I was expecting to be roughing it in Jetstar tonight on their Airbus A321 in economy class, but due to getting a text message at 9 o'clock last night saying my flight was cancelled due to operational reasons, and any alternative options they gave me meant 18-hour flight via Melbourne, I decided to get a credit for that flight and was lucky to find this Virgin Australia flight in business class for 40,000 points, all inclusive, so I thought that was a pretty good alternative remedy to the situation. But nonetheless, let's head in the terminal, get checked in, and come and join me for this rather unexpected luxury upgrade back to Perth tonight. It was very, very early today, around 4 hours to be precise. Having secured a late checkout of my accommodation at 1 o'clock, I really just saw a great opportunity to spend the afternoon at the VA lounge and get on top of some outstanding work whilst I was at it. Anyway, Sydney Airport was very busy this afternoon, so priority bag drop came in handy, which is obviously courtesy of flying business class. So my bags were tagged and off to my destination within minutes, all whilst the economy lines were quite substantial. Security was busy, but the wait times are certainly not as bad as published in the media as of late, and it probably took around 10 minutes to get airside. So certainly not as bad as some of the media as of late, but this is just my experience on this particular afternoon at Sydney Airport. There's no priority screening for Virgin Australia business class passengers in Sydney, however, at this time, so yeah, just keep that in mind if flying through the airport. Part of the reason why I decided to get to the airport today was not just the fact that I would be able to access the Virgin Australia lounge, but because of my complimentary lounge key pass, I would also be able to try out the Regional Express lounge, and I would also be able to check out a restaurant or two at the airport as well, because you get a $32 complimentary credit. So with all these opportunities to check out lounges and some of Sydney Airport's dining, it was really a no-brainer to get here early today and have a free lunch and refreshments at Sydney Airport. So first things first, let's check out the Regional Express lounge at Sydney Airport. So some might say, why the hell you're going to the Regional Express lounge when I'm flying to Virgin today? But the lounge is quite unique, as it is open to members of Priority Pass and Lounge Key programs. So basically, I'm eligible to visit the lounge today, even though I'm not flying Rex. So the lounge itself is very, very compact. It's only a fraction of the Qantas and Virgin flagship lounges, but I really thought it was quite comfortable and thoughtfully laid out. Certainly doesn't have the huge selection of food and beverage, relatively speaking, compared to Qantas and Virgin, but it certainly has a good array of snacks and light bites. Overall, considering I was able to achieve complimentary access to the Rex Lounge in Sydney, I found it was more than an acceptable lounge for what it sets out to achieve and the customer base it services. It's certainly nowhere near as big as a Qantas or a Virgin flagship lounge, and the food and beverage and amenities options are certainly not as comprehensive, but for what it is, it really achieves all the right basics, and considering it was complimentary, it's really a great alternative, worth checking out and seeing for yourself, even if you do have access to a Virgin or Qantas lounge. On today's visit, I'm visiting both, so I really actually quite enjoyed the relative quietness of the Rex Lounge. The Virgin Lounge, as you'll see, is a lot busier. So if you just want a place to relax, chill out, and maybe get away from it a bit more, the Rex Lounge is certainly not a bad option. So certainly no harm in checking out if you've got the complimentary lounge key access. But now that we've spent probably around 45 minutes or so in the Rex Lounge, let's head to the Virgin Australia flagship lounge in Sydney. So arriving at the lounge, it very much conforms to the uniform design and service standards that one would have to expect of Virgin's lounges. Obviously, because Virgin only operate the one type of lounge, its major city airports, it really caters to a large pool of travellers, you know, whether you got your lounge members, your passengers with gold status above, partner airline status, and of course those flying business. So I think Virgin always do a good job of finding that sweet spot for their lounges, you know, catering towards a wide range of passengers. So yeah, Virgin's lounge in Sydney, obviously being the biggest city in Australia and the biggest airport in Australia, it's no surprise that it's very large. Arriving at around 4 o'clock, it's clear the lounge is very busy. Most of the tables and chairs are occupied, although the crowds did drop off, you know, as the afternoon went by and went towards evening. Virgin in this lounge very much has the usual assortment of seating arrangements, as per the other lounges, and generally cater well to those both working and relaxing, although obviously don't expect too many private spaces in this lounge. Unfortunately, at this lounge, there's no real direct views of the tarmac. There's views, but they're fairly obscured by the roof of some of the terminal building in front, although there's still some natural light coming in. So with the partly obscured views of the taxiway and the runway in the distance, you still get to appreciate how busy Sydney Airport is. As with other Virgin lounges, the food and beverage is a pretty strong point in my opinion, especially considering how it caters to such large crowds. Here you can expect a semi-self-serve buffet with several pre-plated dishes on offer, which really depends on the time of day, in addition to an all-day spread including cold meat cuts, cheeses, soups, breads, snacks, you know, like your Red Rock chips. You got cheese and crackers, all that sort of stuff. You got Virgin's famous fried chicken, which I think always seems to be a crowd pleaser, certainly pretty good in my opinion. You also got a Wollstock bar, opens at noon. It's got several white and red options and a pretty good selection of beers, including some of the premium stuff like the local Four Pines. The bar is tended and not self-service. But yeah, the overall, the lounge has pretty good amenities. It's got showers, it's got various charging points, and of course pretty reasonably fast free Wi-Fi. So overall, I thought the lounge today really ticked most of the right boxes for a domestic lounge. So well done, Virgin, here. After just over an hour in the Virgin Australia Lounge, I find it's nearly time to board. So without further ado, let's head towards the gate and board our flight to Perth this evening. Unlike some recent flights that I'd taken, especially with Qantas, tonight's flight, it is pretty obvious from the get-go. It was operating from far from capacity, which was a bonus because it naturally meant the crew had far more time to focus on providing excellent service to each of the passengers. Today's business class cabin was probably only around half full, and in a great bonus, I even had the seat free next to me, which is quite incredible considering I was flying business. But yeah, after being prompted to board first, obviously with my priority boarding, I was one of the first on the plane, and the pre-departure service started shortly after taking my seat. Pre-departure drinks were offered. You got a choice of either sparkling water or sparkling wine, which was probably a rather stark improvement compared to my flight over to Sydney in business with Qantas, where there wasn't anything offered at all. Today's flight was on a typical Boeing 737, the workhorse behind most Virgin's jet services between Australia's capital cities. Unfortunately, after Virgin went into receivership during the height of COVID, with its new owners, Bain Capital, the airline has decided to no longer operate its Airbus A330 wide bodies, which about 4 years ago now, I believe, I got to experience their lie flat business class between Perth and Melbourne, which is really a phenomenal product. So unfortunately, they don't operate the wide bodies anymore. Qantas is the sole operator of those for domestic routes. But anyway, Virgin's Boeing 737 has a free economy layout. It's got a small 2-row 2-2 business class cabin at the pointy end of the plane, which is one less row or 4 seats less than Qantas is offering on the Boeing 737. Today I was seated in 2A, which is one of the last remaining seats selected online, free of charge prior to check-in. The seat, as you can see, has a small cocktail bench between the two seats, offering a convenient way to enjoy a drink without having to use a tray table. The seat offers a pretty generous recline, although be mindful it may slightly intrude on the space of the passengers behind. Now that we're firmly taxiing towards the runway, what better time to just sit back, relax and enjoy our takeoff out of Sydney's Kingsford Smith International Airport this evening as we go out over the lovely and famous Botany Bay and turn west towards our 5-hour trek across the Australian continent tonight. After takeoff, service began approximately 20 minutes after we had taken off. The crew came around to personally take post-departure drink orders. I asked for a beer, of which had the Green Beacon Tropical Pale Ale or the Pure Blonde were on offer. For me, the former choice was a bit of a no-brainer. For dinner, I was offered 2 selections, which I selected the chicken parmigiana, quite an unusual meal for business class, but it was pretty darn tasty nonetheless. On the side, I got cheese and crackers and a lemon cake. All in all, it was a tasty and substantially portioned meal for the 5-hour cross-country trek over to Perth this evening. After dinner, the crew did a good job of remembering my drink preference and offering several more rounds, which I gladly accepted. All in all, the crew on this flight were very professional and attentive and helped make great experience in such a short flight. Unfortunately, Virgin do not have seatback IFE or publicly accessible Wi-Fi on their flight. They do, however, offer streaming to your own device, which you can watch a reasonable but not overly extensive range of TV shows and movies, and also see the in-flight map. For me, there was no real need to access the streaming aside from the map, as I already preloaded my iPad with some content to watch for the flight. It's now just over 4 hours since taking off. We've wound our clock back 2 hours and we're nearly ready to start our descent into a rather wintry and wet Perth evening. So yeah, in what better time now to just sit back, relax and enjoy our descent into the City of Lights, which is Perth, West Australia this evening, and our descent over the eastern suburbs of the city and the sometimes infamous Darling Scarp, or the Darling Ranges as we call it here, which have been known to produce quite a lot of turbulence on the descent into Perth. So yeah, just sit back, relax, enjoy, and once we're firmly on the ground in Perth, I'll offer my final thoughts and verdict on this flight. So once on the ground, the plane landed slightly ahead of schedule and bags were on the carousel within around 15 minutes arriving, and my bag was one of the first to arrive. So it really seems Virgin have actually given priority attention to my bag, not just talked about it. So well done to Virgin on this one. Overall, the merits and advantages of flying business class on any Australian domestic sector should be weighed up against a variety of factors, most notably costs, flight duration and possibly aircraft type. In most cases, when flying on a narrow-bodied aircraft, such as this case on a Virgin Boeing 737, passengers should expect staying more accustomed to what I would consider premium economy on an international flag economy, which is certainly a comfortable step up from economy, but it's neither comparable to a long-haul international business class, product operated by a wide-bodied aircraft. Really, once again, I've said it before with other domestic business class narrow body flights in Australia, but yeah, once again, this expectation very much turned in line with my experience on this flight. So for me, this flight offered the benefit of premium lounge access, more personalised service, and improved dining and drink selection than economy, and a more comfortable seat with greater legroom. Considering the very last minute and spontaneous booking, where I literally booked this flight the night before for 40,800 velocity points, which is all inclusive, thanks to the cancellation of my Jetstar flight, I really saw this as a great value redemption. If I'd paid the $1,600 cash cost that's often quoted for this flight, it's probably not so. But yeah, overall, this was a really solid flight this evening by Virgin. I thought the service was really, really good. I definitely thought it was a better service than the Qantas business class flying over from Perth. And considering if you were to pay cash, Virgin is typically significantly cheaper for their business class, I really consider Virgin to be the winner. Thank you very much for joining me on this evening's flight over to Perth, Western Australia from Sydney. A mammoth 5-hour transcontinental trek on Virgin Australia, Boeing 737 in their business class cabin. Really hope you've enjoyed this video and I've been able to offer a good insight to how Virgin Australia's business class fares in 2022, especially on a longer route. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, really appreciate it if you could give it a like and also subscribe to my channel. Even hit that bell button so you're apprised of all the latest flight reviews as they come to air. And also check out some of my other destination themed content covering many of my travels around the world. But until next time, you can also visit my website at aussiejetsetter.com.au where you can see all the latest flight reviews, industry news, destination guides, frequent flyer hacks, travel deals, and more. You can also visit me on my socials, which I'll put a link in the description below. But yeah, until next time, thank you very much for watching and safe travels wherever that might take you.